Never walked the factory floor, never felt the barrel burn. You wanna tear us down, spit. You wanna tear us down, spit. We're the backbone, built this town with blood and skin. You can burn your rag, call it freedom song, but you won't rewrite what's right or wrong. These country souls, we're stealing stone and wind. Real American outlaws, let the night begin. Guilty of loving this flag too loud. Guilty of standing tall, standing proud. For every crossroad, for every field, for every promise our fathers sealed. Raise that flag, hell, let it soar from the Mason-Dixon to the Texas shore. We're the true.
To the ancestors known and unknown, Ashe. To the gods known and unknown, Ashe. All the praise, all the glory be to the Most High. What's going on, guys? It's your favorite cosmic warrior, back at you with another Galactic Transmission. This rising, we are going to finish up the Gnostic Gospels with the conclusion, Walking the Path of Hidden Light. It's just a quick one page, and then we're going to get into a reading. As you reach the end of this journey through the Gnostic Gospels, it is important to pause, not to conclude, but to breathe in the space that these ancient voices have opened within you. Reading these texts is not about gathering facts or building systems of belief. It is about entering a different kind of listening, one that does not rush to explain, but dares to remain open. The Gnostic tradition does not offer an easy answer. It rarely hands you a map. Instead, it invites you to remember what you have forgotten, to reawaken a knowing that lies deeper than words, deeper than reason. In the echoes of these Gospels, what you encounter is not a dogma, but an invitation to seek, In the echoes of these Gospels, what you encounter is not a dogma, but an invitation to seek, to question, to wander, to return. Each text you have explored, whether poetic, mystical, visionary, or narrative, carries within it the trace of a hidden longing. They were not written for those who wished to be told what to think. They were written for those who were already restless, who suspected that the visible world was not the whole story, who could feel in their bones the tug of another homeland, another light. There is a humility in these writings that modern readers might miss at first. For all their complexity and beauty, the Gnostic Gospels are often fragmented, incomplete, mysterious. They whisper rather than shout. They hint rather than declare. They are, in a sense, mirrors for your own journey. They reflect not what you have already known, but what your heart is still learning to recognize. As you turn the final pages, it is worth remembering that gnosis, the kind of knowing these texts celebrate, is not about information. It is about transformation. It is not knowing about the divine, but knowing through the divine, and even knowing yourself as part of that living mystery. This is why these Gospels can feel both deeply familiar and unsettling at the same time. They do not aim to comfort you where you are. They aim to awaken you to who you have always been beneath all forgetting. Perhaps this is why so many voices arise from the margins, not from the centers of religious powers. These are the voices of those who refuse to be limited by orthodoxy, who declared who dared to imagine the divine in ways that still startle us. They remind us that the early Christian world was not uniform or simple. It was diverse, searching, vibrant with conflicting visions of truth. And in that diversity, something essential lives on. The right to seek, to question, to remember. You do not read a closed system here. You have walked through a garden of broken paths, shifting images and incomplete maps. This is exactly as it should be. Gnosis is not about certainty. It is about the courage to walk without all the answers, trusting that the hidden light you seek also seeks you. There is no final conclusion to a journey like this one. These texts are fragments, and so are we. But in the meeting of fragments with fragment, something whole begins to pulse again. Not a finished doctrine, but a living invitation. The divine is not distant in these writings. It is near. It is buried within you, beneath the noise, the fears, the habits of a lifetime. It is the light you glimpsed when you were young and have perhaps spent years trying to forget. It is the voice that calls you, not from the heavens, but from the center of your own being. And so, as you close this book, you are not really ending anything. You are standing at a new threshold, the same threshold the writers of these Gospels once stood upon, the same threshold that every seeker must cross again and again. You are invited to keep asking, keep wondering, keep listening, to hold the questions open rather than rushing to close them, to trust that what is most real is often what is most hidden, and that hidden things are not less true. They are simply waiting for the right eyes to see them. Thank you for walking this part of the path with these ancient companions. May the light they carried, however imperfectly, continue to awaken something within you. Not a doctrine to defend, but a memory to rekindle. Not a destination to reach, but a way of walking differently through the world. And if, somewhere along the way, you find yourself remembering a light you thought long lost, know this: you are already closer to home than you realize. But that's what it really is, though. It's the longing for home. It's, it's that magnetic pull. It's the piece that's missing. It's our higher self. It's the connection with the Most High. It's something its presence is felt everywhere, but rarely seen. It's, the absence is felt. We try to fill that absence. We try to fill it with what? With lots of things. But none of it do it justice. None of it lasts. Well, none of it can. It's knowledge. You can fill your mind with all the studies of man and still be stupid. And still, hey, you're well educated in the ways of man. But in the ways of the universe and the ways of the cosmos, you're ignorant. You know what I mean? Yeah, but transformations, integrating the higher lessons, integrating everything into the 3D. It's fun. When I say fun, it's a heavy dose of sarcasm on that. Some of it is fun. Well, the lies I tell myself, I lie to myself and I tell myself it's always fun. Because it's the understanding of that's the energy that I need to be in. Even though I often find myself in situations where I'm not having that much fun. But it's but our ability to have fun, even in the tough times, our ability to have fun during the tough lessons. Why so serious? Why so serious? It's funny too, though, the things that we take seriously, and then the things that we don't take seriously and we just laugh at. It's, priorities, mislabeling. It's a lot. priorities and mislabeling. You know, I'm guilty just as well as just as well as many others of, falling into the chaos of the world. And what's being brought to my mind mainly is just, it's mainstream media. It's the propaganda wars. It's the half-truths, the propaganda, it's funny, how the media will refuse to put out information, refuse, and they'll refuse to spin things from certain narratives because it doesn't serve their agenda. But it's funny how when the script changes, and not because they had a choice, it's because they were forced to. And forced to by who? Trump. It's interesting watching how Trump makes his moves, because he forces them to show their card. He forces them to show their true colors. He forces them to show where their heart really is. Who are we protecting? And my mind's also brought to, I watch all these videos come into my timeline about, it's the child predators, the guys that catch the child predators. And you'd be astonished, amazed with the amount of, policy officers, right? Police officers, policy officers. You'd be surprised with the amount of policy officers that instead of going after hearing out of the own person's mouth, I have kitty corn on my phone, or I have this or that on my phone. When you hear those words coming out of their mouth, you'd be surprised how often the officers aren't even worried about what fucked up shit those people have on their phone. They're more worried about with the people trying to shine the light on their darkness. It's like, why the spotlight is being shown on these fuckheads, and you want to turn it around and spit it on me? Why? It's really interesting. Well, when I say interesting, I mean disgusted. It's disgusting to me. The amount of protection that people get. The amount of protection that people get. What I'm being reminded of is, information was coming out recently. Supposedly, the Venezuela government released documents, or they're going to release documents, proving that there's been U.S. politicians that have been under their pay and, have been paid to vote in certain ways, which would not surprise me. And it's not the what, it's the who that's accused of it. But that it's also not that surprising to me. The very first person I ever voted for, Ron Paul. Because I actually believe in his message. Because he doesn't just talk about it, he is about it. And his actions reinforce that. But just because you're born in a lineage doesn't mean you have anything to do with that lineage. Ron Paul's son, Rand, I always held the belief that there was always something that he's not his father. You hear the way that he would speak, and you could just hear the way he spoke, and he's not his father. He's wish-washy. He cares more about the politics, more about who you're brushing shoulders with, than who you're going to offend by speaking the truth. Ron Paul doesn't give a fuck who he offends with the truth, because the truth is the truth is the truth. This is a fucking truth. And if it hurts, we'll do something to change the truth. But Rand Paul, a different approach. And, and so when I heard, I don't know how factual it is. I'm sure there's still investigations going on. But he's being accused of, from what I heard, he was being accused of taking bribes. Which, not too surprising, because I always energetically felt that he's not his father. You follow in his footsteps. You become you run and you get elected into the government. Whether it be because you piggybacked off your father's name or not, who knows? All I know is he doesn't stand with the same morals and beliefs that his father does. That's just the way I look at it. I could be wrong, but his actions to me state that. But it's funny watching the media, how, they'll refuse to talk about certain things. They'll refuse until the shoe is put on a different foot. And then it's like, now they want to, they want to blow it up, but controlled too. They're still trying to play control. There's still no full transparency. But full transparency. Child health care. Full transparency. You know what's interesting? When I was talking about Tampon Tim, when I was talking about him and the fraud going on in Minnesota, you know, my mind naturally went to Maine, because Maine was, you know, I'm well familiar, you know, with Maine. I'm well familiar with immigrants in Maine. You know, I worked with a lot of them for over 5 years, so I'm well familiar. But they weren't, they're not Somalian. You know, the ones I worked with were from the Congo. You know, the ones I worked with were actually, you know, refugees from war. You know, hearing some of the stuff that they were going through, it's wrong. It's sad, right? You know, but I saw all different aspects of it. You know, these are men and women that I worked with, you know, a lot. Because with that job, you know, a lot of us worked. You know, we didn't just get free handouts. You know, a lot of people that I worked with, they worked a lot. You know, it was 4 days on, 4 days off, 12-hour shifts. And a lot of people worked, they didn't stop. You know, they maybe took a half a day off here or there to rest, but even the half a days, it's still a 6-hour shift, you know. But it's, you know, it's things that we chose to do. A lot of us worked, you know, 80 hours every fucking week. You know, no problem. Right? But what's interesting about that is, you know, I got to learn a lot of the immigrants. And, you know, I saw the way that they were treated. I saw the way that they treated each other, you know. There was a lot of cultural differences. You know, there was a lot of fun times trying to integrate, trying to learn, trying to understand. You know, I saw them get a lot of hate from people. I saw them, you know, some of them didn't speak any English, you know, which, you know, they came over here as a refugee. And so I'm a very firm believer that if you come here as a migrant and you want to get, you know, you want to become a U.S. citizen, it should be required. I mean, it is required, but there's no way, shape, or form that it should be a workaround for you not learning English. You know, that's what we speak here. You have to learn it. You have to. We're not going to conform to you. You have to conform to us. Our doors are open for the refugees, yes, but you have to learn our language, right? You know, which is interesting too, because, you know, some of the Congos that I worked with, you know, some of them that did speak English, some of them would try to gatekeep the information. You know, some of them, you would give them the instructions, because I had, you know, so when I started off with that job, I started off like all of them did. It was a attempt to hire. So I started off with, you know, within the 90 days you get hired on. Well, my 90 days, it took me more like 6 or 7 months. But, you know, I could have got let off. But I was a hard worker. And even though the department I got hired in, they slowed down, I was a good worker, and so they transferred me over. And I got transferred a lot. And so it took a while for me to get my hired on firm position. It took like a year and a half, all overall, I believe. But, you know, but I started from the ground, worked my way up. And, you know, relaying instructions, you know, I would see firsthand, you know, some people that, you know, the ones that speak English and relay the information. And so you go to them, you give them the information, and they relay it to the other people. Right? But then you're watching them work, and it's like, what the fuck are you telling them? Are you even telling them the right thing? Which is hard too, because some people just, they play the, I know what you're telling me. It's kind of like a dog. When you're telling your dog to go out to the bathroom and come back quick, or whatever you're telling your dog, a lot of times your dog hears you. It's like, I know what you're saying, I'm just choosing not to listen. And that's how a lot of these people treated it. You know, if you gave them, not all the tasks that we were given were fun. A lot of them, they weren't fun at all. And so when you try to give someone a task, and the selective hearing, I all of a sudden I don't understand English. You know what I mean? And then, or they're just doing it wrong. Sometimes intentional, sometimes not. Really fun trying to determine which one's intentional and which ones aren't. So you learn to learn the person, right? And it's like, okay, I know you, and I know how you work, and so I'm going to handle you differently. Right? But then you get the ones that you can't trust. The ones that you can't trust to relay the proper information. The ones that you can't trust to make sure the job's done right. Because overall, at the end of the day, it's my name that's going on the logs. So if they get it right or if they get it wrong, it doesn't matter. I'm responsible for it. They get it right, hey, I don't get a praise. They get it wrong, and I get the shitstorm. Right? It's, you know, it's funny. But, you know, it was, you know, I worked with a lot of them, right? And a lot of them, you know, a lot of the money that they earned went back to the Congo. went back to help their family members that were still there, right? But they worked hard. I know they did because I worked right with them. Well, they put in the hours. Not all of them worked hard, right? But they put in the hours, right? They showed up, and but a lot of them, they were from Lewiston, Maine, and the plant we worked in was in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, which is right on the border of Maine. But from them, it was a good hour trip, more than an hour trip, and then throw in the winter, like accidents and everything else. A lot of them traveled, but a lot of them stayed in Lewiston because they got the free housing. They got free housing, and but not all of them. It's not all of them got all the free handouts. But I'd be lying if I sat here and told you that there wasn't a certain level of jealousy in me, because granted, a lot of them, they did all live together and they pooled money and they shared things, right? They shared expenses. But also a lot of them drove in fairly nice vehicles, a lot nicer vehicles than some of us had, right? And so, yeah, there's a certain level of like jealousy and, kind of anger, because it's like, I'm here, I'm from here. It's like, why am I so hard off? Why do I have a hard time getting loans? Why do I have a hard time? I'm from here. I pay taxes. I've been paying taxes. Why is it so hard? And when I look at the anger that the Somalian community is getting, it's, well, first off, what they did was wrong, but it's opening up wounds that a lot of us feel, a lot of us see. We see foreigners come and they get these business grants, and what do? They milk out the system, and then they keep the same business and they sell the business to their family members. Nothing changes. They still get the same government funding, they still get the same funds and stuff that aren't really given to the US citizens as much. Maybe we just play the game wrong. Well, then again, it also kind of seems like it has been stacked for the immigrants. Which I'm all about helping people, but when do we help us? When do we help us? Does it help us to fund wars, to go bomb other countries and then rebuild them? Does it help us? What helps us? Not much. Not much from the government sense. Our tax money goes to help everyone else, but when does that help us? Not very often. And there's a lot of money that gets taken. And where does it go? Now we're finding out where it's going. And so, yeah, there's a lot of fucking hate in the air. There's a right way to do things and there's a wrong way to do things. There's a difference between needing a hand and wanting a handout. A lot of the systems were initially designed, to help people when they need a hand. But you can't even find that these days. We have U.S. citizens, Americans, that work 2-3 jobs and get denied. Then you get people that sit on, but those are the systems. This is the way the systems work. They reward you for doing nothing. They reward you for doing nothing. And so it's like, well, I have a will to work, I want to work, but then I go and I bust my ass, I break myself, and for what? And for who? And what do I get out of it? Hey, I don't even get out of boy. Yeah, here's some more taxes. Here's some more of your rights and freedoms taken away. Here's some more shit. Thank you. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. But some of the people I worked with, they found themselves in the same situation I was. Overqualified for the position. The position you're in, irrelevant to your qualifications. Some of the people that we worked with, they were doctors. They did have degrees in their country. And then they came here as a refugee. And, bottom of the totem pole. Well, when I got that job, where did I come there from? I went from assistant project manager of the large loss team, running multi-million-dollar jobs, dealing with staffing agencies. I went from dealing with hundreds of laborers to being a laborer. I went from one of the head honchos to being a bitch again. But it's the choice decisions that I made to do what I had to do. Is it fun? Fuck no. Especially when you start on the bottom and you work your way up. You know how many times I've done that? I put in my dues. I put my dues in everywhere I go. That gets old though. That gets old. But staying in the same places gets old. But Some of us choose to stay in the same place out of comfort. Some of us have no choice. Some of us just get moved, completely uprooted, have to restart over again. You know, but what do both have in common? Life goes on. Life always goes on until it doesn't. You know, but what do we choose to do? You know, do we choose to sit in the sorrows and the woe is me and everything's happening to me? Do we sit in that energy? Or do we do what we can do? Focus on what we can work on. Focus on what we can improve and ignore that which we can't. You know, a lot of it's energy. Where do we put our energy? But that's what the mainstream media is too, though. You know, they're trying to dictate our energy. They try to guide our energy. They try to force our energy to go where they want it to go. You know, they try to dictate us to feel how we're supposed to feel. You know, you're supposed to hate this person. Orange man bad. These people bad. But it's, you know, grouping together. You know, taking one person's actions, one person's choices, one person's decisions, and grouping a whole society and judging a whole society based upon that. You know, but I have a lot of respect for, you know, I had a really tight bond with a lot of, well, not a lot. You know, I could get along with anyone, but a lot of the Congos I did grow a strong relationship with. And, you know, some great men, some great women too. You know, so some of the women work harder than some of us men. I'll tell you that right now. They work somewhat harder than their men, and they work harder than some of our men. You know, just, you know, that's funny too. It's gender. It's, some people are just lazy by nature. Gender neutral, lazy is lazy. Lazy is lazy. You know, but, you know, it's fun too, you know, being punished for not being lazy. It's like the less lazy you are, it's like the more you have to work to support everyone else that is lazy. And it's just, that never sat right with me. But yeah. How you guys doing?
Scream, mom says, son, get a job, yeah, thanks for the wisdom, but I'm building bars like prison, spitting out my own system, clock ticking, palms itching, I'm done wishing I'm vicious, they call me wash, but I'm drowning them in their own dishes, every failure's another scar stitched in my mission, I ain't praying for forgiveness, I'm praying they listen, Mike in my fist like a knife in a brawl, I've been down, but I'll die standing tall, can't fake this, I ain't built for...
What the fuck? Angel number 946 could be important for someone. Maybe I needed to restart that song. It was interesting where it popped in on that song was, it was talking about getting a job.
I'm vicious, they call me wash, but I'm drowning them in their own dishes. Every failure's another scar stitched in my mission. I ain't praying for forgiveness, I'm praying they listen. Mike in my fist like a knife in a brawl. I've been down, but I'll die standing tall. Can't fake this, I ain't built for applause. I'm the dog that bit through the chain and the laws. You got one shot left, better take it, don't fake it. Your heart's pounding loud, you can't shake it. Every hater in the crowd wanna break it, but you bleed for the dream, so embrace it. One shot left and it's now or never. Lose one, they'll doubt you forever. Spit truth, spit pain, get clever. You got one shot left, don't ever surrender. dream is like a heavyweight crown. If I fall again, I'll get up from the ground with a verse so raw, it'll shake the town. You got one shot left. Better take it, don't take it. Your heart's pounding loud. You can't shake it. Every hater in the crowd. I wanna break it, but you bleed for the dream. So embrace it. One shot left, and it's now or never. Lose ones that doubt you forever. Spit truth, spit pain. Get clever, you got one shot left. Don't ever surrender. No plan B, no backup scheme. Just me, my mic, and a pipe dream. Every note they threw just fueled the flame. Now I spit gasoline when I say my name. You got one shot left, better make 'em remember. Hard cold steel words cut like embers. Let 'em laugh, let 'em die. Let 'em sever. You got one shot left, go down as a legend forever. You got one shot left. 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 Don't ever surrender. Faith ain't clean, love ain't free. We run on God, guns, and gasoline. Highways hum like a heavy steel. The wheel don't lie, it's the truth you feel. Promises ain't made, they're forged and sealed. Faith ain't clean, love ain't free. We run on God, guns, and gasoline.
Maybe. I don't know.
No hand to hold, just a wheel in my grip. No map to follow, just the road as it dips. It's a simple life, but it's ours to script. We don't whisper, we just shout. No back roads here, just the open route. A map's a ghost, we follow smart.
The map is a ghost that we follow. The map is a ghost that we follow. You know, but the map, the path. You know, non-disclosure agreements. It's the lessons that we signed up for to come down here to learn. It's given the tough lessons, you know, it's, well, these are tough times that we're in. These are trying times that we're in. Spiritually, you know, it's because most of us are completely, you know, spiritually disconnected. You know, a lot of us, you know, we go to church and we think that we're spiritually connected. It's like, no. Religion has nothing to do with spirituality. You know, spirituality, the spiritual journey, is a journey that you go on yourself. It's a journey you go on. And what's the destination? It's your higher self. It's a connection with the Most High. What's up? You know, but the end of the path, the end of the journey, the end of the rainbow. You know what's interesting too is it never ends. It never ends. Even when it ends, you know, in the 3D, it doesn't end. Energy doesn't go away. Energy just gets transferred. You know, but it's interesting too, NDA, the lessons. You know, the lessons. We either learn them this lifetime or we're forced to repeat them the next. The lessons don't just go away because we refuse to learn them. The lessons don't go away because we run away from them. The lessons don't go away because, this vessel passes on. The lessons don't go away. But it's, running from our problems. Running from ourselves. But when we run from our problems, when we run from ourselves, who are we really running from? We're running from the Most High. We're putting a gap between us and the Most High. And the Most High, but it's looking at, it's interesting. It's, with every level of ascension, it's, you're looking at different plateaus, right? So this is where I am, this is where I was. And looking down at where I was, I can see all the choices, all the decisions, all the actions that I made. And I see the whole chessboard from up there. I can see all the moves that I made and how it made, it made sense at the time. But looking at it now, it's like, what the fuck was I thinking? But it's like, the higher we elevate, the higher we go, there's always a higher lesson. There's always a different perspective. There's always a higher angle, a higher way of looking at things. But it's always choosing to look at things from a higher perspective. But what is that? It's the higher perspective. It's not what's happening to me, it's what's happening for me. Because when you look at things as what's happening to me, out comes a lot of anger, a lot of aggression, a lot of sadness, a lot of negative emotions. And when we're able to perceive things as what happened to me, you're able to look at things from a more appealing point of view. But I'm saying the word mass, but it's like it's the mass of a sail. Sometimes we don't know what the proper way to look at things are. We don't know what it is. All that we do know for sure is the way that we're looking at it, the way that we're perceiving it, the way that we're handling this current situation, it's not working. It's not it. Because I know through trial and error that doesn't work. I've already done the same lesson the same way multiple times. So when you try something a new way, it's, we cast the sails. We put up the mast. We cast the sails. But it's the knowing that the wind's going to pick it up. Where the wind's going to blow, your guess is as good as mine. All I know is I'm not going to stay stuck. We're going to get movement, and any movement's better than no movement. Any movement's better than no movement. But it's interesting too is sometimes, when we can't figure out what's keeping us stuck and we're out of ways to try new things, sometimes we'll want to resort back to just doing things how we used to. But sometimes all it takes is, doing nothing, because it's in the nothing, the silence, when we open up our ears to the Most High. But opening up, being willing. But it's being willing to listen to your higher self. It's, it's like, we sometimes expect, the path to be, all lit up and glowing and real, definable. Like, this is the path. It's the path is so known but unknown at the same time. It's energetically knowing that you're on the right path, but still looking around for any sort of clue, any sort of sign, because we're really not sure. But sometimes it's better to be in a situation where you're really unsure than it is to be in a situation where I know that's not it, I know that's not it, I know that's not it. And so when you know all these things that aren't it, well, I can remove myself from there. Well, I can't remove myself from that yet, but I'm working towards it. It's removing ourselves. It's pulling our energy back. You know, but it's at each plateau. You know, all the strength, all the energy, it's pulling it all back at each plateau. But pulling it back. But it's some stuff needs to be left behind. You know, some things, you know, we acquire, but it's only meant for certain seasons, certain parts of our mission. You know, a lot of times we try to hold on to things that, you know, that we feel are important to us, that we think are important to us, that we think that we need. You know, but it's only in having nothing that you realize what you truly need. And it's nothing. Nothing but a connection with the Most High. As long as you have that, you're already winning. You already won. It's already been done. You've already won. As long as you have a connection with the Most High. But if you don't have the connection with the Most High, it doesn't matter what you have. You've already lost. It's just a matter of time. And that's the sad reality too, is people will judge and base what, you know, where they at in life by what they have. Well, yes and no. But what do you have on the 5D? What do you have on a spiritual level? What do you have? What do you have that's not tangible, but it is energetically? What do you have? You know, it's a connection with the Most High is worth any glamorous gold or anything else that you can acquire. You know, but the things that they don't talk about, the things that they don't preach in church, the things that they don't talk about, you know, the spiritual gifts. You know, why doesn't church teach it? Well, it started off with the, you know, as a deliberate, you know, cause to provide false information and misleading information to disconnect people from the Most High, because it's threatening to the system when people are connected with the Most High. Because, hey, when I realized I don't need a church, when I realized the teachings of Yeshua, which told you that the temple, that you are the temple, and everywhere I go is the temple. All I have to do is go within, and I can speak to the Most High, connect with the Most High in my own temple. Everywhere I go, it goes with me. I don't need a place. I don't need a person. You know, and that's the big misconception is the disconnection. You know, is we need an intermediary. It's like we don't need an intermediary. Between us and who? The Most High? No. I am a direct connection to the Most High. And I hope you are as well.
I'm just drifting.
Yeah.
Waiting.
Through the forest toward the source, waiting to attain grace. Our paths diverge, but take us to the same place. Cast skyward, weightless when the chains break. Archetypal figures that shape shift, the change face. Storm the gates, hit the safe, get the cake. While dog eats dog, off and down the family dinner plate. I'm in the clouds, in the crowd, in the visionscape. In effect, any minute now, I may get it straight. I've seen her face in my dreams since I was young. A Beatrice, a queen, a mother that chides her son. That stumbled through his life when he couldn't find a hobby. And lived on the cliff's edge like the Anasazi. Saw my love walking down the street like a vision. A symbol of a hidden world, show me what I'm missing.
She smiled at him but said nothing.
Then disappeared around the corner while I put the poison in my bloodstream. A child born into briars and thorns that tried to silence sirens and horns in the eye of the storm. The fire rages, the state calls her young to war. Some will turn their hatred into something more and place guns in the floor. Breathe deep, darkness retreats. See, my heart periodically is part of her mystique. Hold the keys to the city where the shepherds lead the sheep. And never ever ever get the mark of the beast. I climbed the ladder, then I fell again. I had the whole wardrobe full of skeletons and old habits that arrested my development. In the woods at the mercy of the elements, waiting for my love. You seen it? I'm waiting for my love. They tell me I'm a dreamer.
Waiting.
Run to warn the village not to place trust in machines built to subjugate the universe and us. The jungle's not safe after dusk. I saw hyenas tear a man to pieces and turned away in disgust. But some nights mother made me kill for my next meal. My dreams seemed more alive, the world felt less real. And in the full moonlight, she looked beautiful. A fresh blanket of snow, a garland of human skulls. Her valleys and streams are my flesh, my veins. Like birds in flight, the neurons firing in my right brain. And words are weapons to sharp shoot shots off in the dark at night and hit the mark with precise aim. Lone pistol arrow, too legit to cease. Gain the kingdoms of the world, lose your inner peace. Got no social skill, but I can do this in my sleep. Shackles stole the ocean to reveal the universe beneath.
No social skills, but I can do this in my sleep. You know, what's funny is, you know, you watch people, you know, that are non-religious people, you know, go to a church for the first time and pray. And it's, you know, don't know what to say. You know, energy. Energy is our true currency. But energy, you know, telepathy, you know, those are ways that we used to speak, you know, before words, before spells. You know, before spells, before words, when we were just connected with telepathy. But what is telepathy? Telepathy is simply pulling thoughts out of the ether, and that's all it is, connecting the thoughts, because there's thoughts all around us. You know, that's why the Bible says to take command of the thoughts that are not yours and command them out, because you're always picking up on different thoughts. You know, some of the thoughts are going to lead you to a higher timeline. Some of the thoughts are going to lead you to a lower timeline. What thoughts are you choosing to let fester in your mind? You know, it was a lot harder to deceive people when language wasn't spoken, when it was an energetic thing, when it was a telepathy thing, because, you know, you can't deceive someone when they already know your thoughts, when they already know your energy. You can't deceive them. You can't be misled. And so they had to disconnect us from the Most High before they could mislead us. Because, you know, seeing people's true actions. When you can see people's true actions, no looking back. It's the mental trap. Stuck, frozen. It's different ways. I see it all as what it is. A trap to keep me stuck. A trap to keep me frozen. And so looking back at what? Looking back at the traps that I avoided, that I almost fell into? Looking back at the traps that I did fall into, that held me back? I got out of them, but they held me back for a while. Looking back, what am I looking back for? If we look back to improve the future. We look back so that we don't fall into the same traps. We look back so that but it's that it's understanding. It's looking back to understand. But why? So that we can show others how we avoided the trap. So that we can show others how we did fall into the trap, but so that we can also show others how we got out of the trap. But it wasn't just us. You know, it's not when we're relying on our great ideas, because when we're only just relying on our great ideas, they're not that great. They normally end up back in another repetitive cycle. Because we're not the brightest, because a lot of times we think we know what's best, but that's the mistake. We think that we know what's best. We think that we know what the Most High has in store for us. We think. That's where we fuck up, is we think. You know, but it's the thinking. It's the tithing of the 10%. It's the tithing of my thinking. And I'm going to stop doing it my way. I'm going to do it your way. If I don't know which way I'm being led to go, I'm not going to move. I'm going to wait until I do know which way I'm supposed to go. You know, but it's up. You know, it's always up. You know, what's interesting too is, you know, well, what I'm saying is it's like people pushing you off the ledge. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, when people see how fast that some people they'll have all the climbing gear. They'll have all the climbing gear, right? And then you're not even part of their group. And here you come along, tracking along without any gear and just pushing along at your own pace, and you just naturally just move faster, easier, you know. it's interesting too. It's, you know, a lot of the stuff that we think that we need, you know, it's not really necessary. Some of it makes it easier, some of it doesn't. But it's, you know, it's natural instincts. It's natural. It's natural strength. But the natural strength to persevere through every mental trap. That's what they're talking about. They're talking about how just nothing gets you stuck. You know, but stuck. It's like they think that you're stuck on Earth. You know, planting seeds on Earth. It's like you're in the cosmos. You're planting seeds in the cosmos. The seeds that we plant. You know, the eyes. You know, I don't know why, but I'm being brought to fucking Erica Kirk. And, you know, I really don't typically engage with a lot of the stuff. But, you know, the eyes don't lie. And I don't know how you can look at that woman and tell me something's not right with her eyes. Something's wrong with her eyes. They're dark. They're dark. Her actions, her words, just the mental trap that she's leading people into right now, that I see her leading people into. You know, when you are a chosen one, you know, Charlie Kirk, chosen one. You know, but what do when they can't control you, when they can't buy you, when they can't bribe you? They send in people like Erica. They send in people like her, handlers. And when they can't handle the situation, when they can't contain you, when they can't contain the situation, what do? And you go from having Turning Point USA being run by someone working for the Most High and replaced with who? A false impersonator, a false prophet. That woman's dark. That woman's evil. And all the people that she's going to mislead, all the people that buy in and feed in, you know, she's trying to siphon all the people from that hopped on his chain. She's trying to siphon them. The whole Turning Point. You know, everyone that's left there everyone that's left there that they're pushing, you know, Ben Shapiro, horrible, evil, you know, propaganda. You know, he's a Judas sheep. You know what Judas sheep are? Judas sheep are the ones that lead the others to slaughter. You know, it's a turning point. It's a turning point. Oh yeah, it is. But the turning point they want you to do is a pivot in the wrong direction. You know, they try to divert your. Why is it getting slow like that? Diverting our attention. Well, but it's controlling what we watch online. Controlling what we watch online. You know, it's what we consume. You know, what we consume. It's what do we, it's where our energy goes. You know, what do we spend our time watching? You know, it's a lot of times we think that we're educating ourselves, you know, but that's part of the mental trap. It's because who are we listening to? A lot of it's poison. You know, they keep you addicted to keeping up with it, you know, keeping up with the Kardashians, or is that what the show was called? You know what I mean? But look at shows like that. It's just the mental traps. It's blatantly obvious to me, and I don't get how, you know, people don't see it for what it is. Some people, you know what I mean? You know, they treat them like gods, and they idolize them, and it's like, the people that we idolize, it's who do they really work for? You know, it's the people that we're taught and told to idolize. Well, those are probably the people that we shouldn't. Because there's a reason why they want you to idolize those people. There's a reason why they want you to base your life, to model your life around them. Control. control. All control is lost. Stalking, watching online. That's interesting. It's all the things wished for you. All the things wished for you. It's using your free will to try to impose on someone else's free will, to try to stop someone's movement. That's a violation of universal law. That's a violation of spiritual law. I don't recommend it.
I climbed the ladder, then I fell again. I had the whole wardrobe full of skeletons and old habits that arrested my development. In the woods at the mercy of the elements, waiting for my love. Seen her? I'm waiting for my love. They tell me I'm a dreamer.
Waiting for things.
I see you shiver, taste the heat of your skin. Fingers gripping, pulling you close, pulling me in. Tongue slides, teeth graze, fire ignite. Every gasp, every moan, every edge of night. I claim you, press you, make you mine. Every shiver, every tremble, every line. Trembling, quivering, begging for more. I'm raw, I'm primal, to the core. I'll take you, break you, drag you to the edge. Every touch, every bite, every whispered pledge. All of you, all of me collide, entwine. I'm yours, you're mine. Fire and spine. Push me, pull me, shiver, scream. I own you tonight. I own every dream. Hands in your hair, teeth sink in skin. Every gasp, every tremble pulls me in. Muscles tense, your body rides in my hand. Every push, every lick, every command. Whisper my name, quiver under my grip. Every inch, every pull, every desperate sip. Heat bites, lust pulls, boundaries fall. I dominate, I devour, I want it all. I'll take you, break you, drag you to the edge. Every touch, every bite, every whispered pledge. All of you, all of me collide, entwine. I'm yours, you're mine. Fire and spine. Push me, pull me, shiver, scream. I own you tonight. I own every dream. I grip your hips, pull you close, press you down. Every shiver, every moan, I wear your crown. Tongue slides, teeth bite, hands roam deep. I'm inside you, I devour, I claim what I keep. Harder, faster, harder, no end in sight. Every gasp, every tremor ignites the night. I'm inside you, every motion a claim. Every shiver, every gasp fuels a flame. Sweat drips, nails dig, teeth graze. I dominate, I consume in every way. Gasp, moan, tremble, every sound is mine. I'm raw, I'm primal, you are divine. I'll take you, break you, drag you to the edge. Every touch, every bite, every whisper pledge. All of you, all of me collide, entwine. I'm yours, you're mine. Fire and spine. Push me, pull me, shiver, scream. I own you tonight. I own every dream. I consume you, every pulse, every vein. All of me, all of you, pleasure and pain. I'm yours tonight, raw, dark and true. Every shiver, every gasp, I belong to you. I rode through the valley where the shadows bite. Grief on my saddle, no hope in sight. But the dawn broke, hope and mercy took flight. Now I ride with my Savior from dark to light. From dark to light. Yeah. Buried in sorrow, pain cut deep. Nights without rest, no soul could sleep. Lost in the storm, thought I'd drown in the rain. Broken and bitter, chained by pain. But a whisper came soft through the smoke and fire. Son, I got plans that will lift you high. In the pit of despair, when I thought I was through, his hand reached down and pulled me through. Surrey out of the dark, he's riding with me. Breaking these chains, setting me free. Grief is a storm, but it's not gonna spark.
You know, he's always with me, helping me break the chains. Co-worker, you know, best friend, you know, service industry worker. That's a light worker card. But co-worker for the Most High, helping me break the chains. It's talking about in the group chat. It's you must be getting help. You must be getting help. You are. But not in the 3D, in the 5D. You know, you're getting help. Help to do what? You know, forming new thought patterns. Because it all starts with your mind. You know, your mind is a battlefield. You can either be its commander or be its soldier. And if you're a soldier of your mind, you've already lost the battle. You mean, not the war, but you've lost whatever battle it is that you're fighting right now. If you're a soldier and not a commander, you've already lost the battle. You know, but the war isn't lost. You know, there's still time to retreat. There's still time to forfeit. Is forfeit what? Is forfeit the old programming, the old mindsets, the old things that... Oh, it's interesting too, but it's the... It's like they want you in the energy of putting in all the work and thinking that you're doing it in vain. It's they want you thinking that, you know, that you're working towards nothing. That you're doing it for no reason. You know, but it's the ways that we set ourselves up, you know, the mental traps. It's the ways that we lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that we're not going to make it out, that it was all for nothing. It's the lies that we tell ourselves. You know, if you learned the lesson, there's always a lesson to be learned. And if you can learn the lesson, it wasn't for nothing. You know, maybe it wasn't a fun exchange, maybe it wasn't an equal exchange, but it was an exchange nonetheless. And but it's being able to look at it as an exchange. Because with an exchange, you got something out of it. You know, if it wasn't an exchange, it's just what happened to me. And if it's what happened to me, not for me, then I didn't gain anything from it. And if I didn't gain anything from it, I can't find anything positive in this situation. Which a lot of times, the only positive that we find in the situations that we're in is the lessons that we learned. A lot of times, the only fucking thing that we have to give thanks for is this lesson that it took me a long time to even see it. But here it is. I found it. Thank you for this. You see this right here? I never want to do this again. But thank you. It's the way that we think that we have to repeat things. We think that just because, you know, we get a glimpse of it coming back into our reality, we think that we're stuck with it. Sometimes things come back just to see how we're going to handle it. You know, sometimes we say, hey, we tell the Most High, hey, here's the lesson, I learned it. And the Most High comes and it says, hey, remember this? Remember this lesson you said you learned? Well, hey, let's see. Let's see how you act. Let's see how you choose to react. Or lack thereof. Maybe you don't react. Maybe that's the test. Are you going to even react? Are you going to give it any of your energy? not giving our energy, watching online. It's the people that we remove. The people that we remove from our life. That have no choice but to watch online. They're the same people that wished us to be stuck, now finding themselves stuck. Now looking back at the ways that they attempted to get you stuck, it's the traps. It's, damn, that trap that I sent for them, how the fuck did I fall into it? No, not watching where you're going. That's what happens when you watch someone else's path. When you watch someone else's path, you're not watching your path. And when you don't watch your path, you fall into traps that you set for someone else. But you didn't even realize that you set the trap on your own path. We all do that. We're all guilty of that. Knowingly or unknowingly. You know, but it's the knowingly that's where the spiritual violation. You know, unknowingly, it's, damn, it's sometimes we don't realize the actions, the consequences of our choices, of our decisions. Sometimes we really don't realize. In which case, we're granted a pass that time. But once you know better, better is expected of you. So the next time you think you're going to get that same free pass, you only get one free pass. And learn your fucking lesson. And you don't learn, motherfucker, do better. You know, but that's out of a place of love. You know, a lot of times God hates me. God keeps putting me in these situations. It's, you keep making the same choices. I keep making the same choices. I choose to keep looking at it from the same narrative. I choose. I, not God. God's allowing me to go through these same situations until I learn, until I change my thoughts, until I change my behavior, until I change. It has nothing to do with the Most High. You know, but we cast that blame on the Most High. We should be casting the blame on ourselves. You know, but forming new thought patterns, you know, try to set you up. It's, you know, it's people will be able to see. You know, people can see our weaknesses, especially, you know, people that have known us for a while. You know, they know what used to get under our skin. They know what, you know, used to, you know, it's ways of just dictating our actions and, you know, predictability. But it's also, you know, what's interesting about that is, you know, predictability. It's, when you're staying aligned, it's unpredictable. You know, when you're not following your higher self, you know, that path is visible. And they can set the traps right on your path easily. You know, but just because they set it on your path doesn't mean you can't change. Because, you know, forming new thought patterns. Every thought leads to different, you know, words, actions, or it leads to a lot of different things. So with every thought has the potential to shift you in a different timeline. And so with every positive thought, that timeline that you're on, that path that they set the trap on doesn't even exist. You know, little do they know, the path all of a sudden just crisscrossed and changed. And so you were heading straight, then all of a sudden, you know, the trap's right there, we crossed over. That's not my path anymore. But that's how it is, though. You're always going to, you know, weapons will be formed, but they will not prosper. You know, you might be caught in a little bit, but if you're staying aligned, you're not going to get the blunt of it. Sometimes you're going to feel it, you're going to witness it just enough to be like, whew, oh, that was a close one. So you can open your eyes and see your protection. So you can open your eyes and see, you know, the ways that I didn't understand, much less understand why I was being led to do certain things or whatever. But now looking back at it, it's like, holy shit, now it all makes sense. But sometimes we never get that moment where it all makes sense. That's when you have to hold on to the knowing that it all works out for my greatest good. How? The fuck do I know? I don't know. All I know is that it does. You know, the hidden agendas, the attracting miracles, everything worked out for my greatest good. The hidden agendas, the negative situations, it was to teach you a lesson. Did you learn it? I hope so, because if you didn't, you have to repeat it. You know, the hidden agendas. It's not what happened to me, it's what happened, it's not what the Most High allows to happen to you. It's what the Most High allows to be done so you learn the lesson. So you finally get it. And it gets worse and worse. The more that we ignore, the more that we refuse to change, the more that we stay stuck in our ways, the worse it gets. Yeah, but that's not rocket science. You know, that should be common fucking sense. But by common sense is, you know, a mythical creature. It's a thing of the past. Like, common sense doesn't even really exist anymore. which is sad. You know, nonsense is more common than common sense, and that makes no fucking sense. You know, it's the nonsense that we attract. You know, it's the nonsense that we attract. It's the same shitty situations that we keep attracting with no realization of why. It's because we're asking for it. You know, I never asked for that. Well, you did by refusing to change. We asked by refusing to change the way we think about things, which in turn changes the way that we speak about them, and in turn changes the way that we move about things. It's all a process, and your mind's a battlefield. It all starts with your mind. It all starts with the way that you perceive things. You know, the way that we perceive things. You know, the hidden agendas, the labels, the mislabeling. A lot of our problems stem off of mislabeling. And a lot of the labels we didn't even put on things. Society put them on them. Our family members, all these other motherfuckers want to tell us, you know, want to take our hand and here, write this on this one and put this on there, but we never question any of it. We never question the hand that's guiding us to write, you know, and interesting, the spells. You know, the spells that we cast upon ourselves out of ignorance. You know, we think we're speaking words of love and endearment, but we're not. We're actually casting negativity. And that's the beauty of the English language. And when I say beauty, that's heavy sarcasm. The English language is fucked.
Oh, can't be me. Cause you can't be me. You ain't cut from my clothes, you ain't forging my fire, you ain't carrying my weight or crawl through my wire. Keep trying to measure up, keep trying to compete, but some thrones built high ain't for you to see. I'm built from stones you ain't survived. Walked through hell and made it out alive. Say what you want.
You know, say what you want about me. There's the things that they want to say about your connection with the Most High. It's the things that they are saying about your connection with the Most High. But where is it coming out of? Where is it coming from? You know, the words that they speak. You know, in all reality, it's a place of jealousy. You know, it's the words that we speak. Authenticity is the highest frequency. You know, wannabe thugs. It's the wannabes. You know, they wish that they could be authentic. Oh, they can, but their authenticity is going to hit a little different. Because when they have to be authentic, they've done a whole lot of fuckery. They've done a whole lot of shit that they thought that well, that's funny. At the time, people will be okay with it when they think that they can get away with it. When they think that they're still going to win. But it's only in the face of defeat when, you know, when the consequences of their actions really hits in. When the consequences of their action, when reality, you know, really slaps them in the fucking face. You know, it's the jealousy, your connection with the Most High. And it's your position. You know what it is? You know, it's not like the Most High just chooses you. I mean, yes, but many are called, few are chosen. It's, you have to choose yourself. And then if it aligns with what the Most High, then it's agreed upon. But it's not just one way or the other. It's a mutual thing. It's you have to choose the Most High, and the Most High has to choose you. And everything has to be in alignment. But what are we aligned with? Evil covenant. I don't think I have to tell you, covenant, agreements, the agreements that they made. Agreements that they don't want coming to the light. Because it's going to be shown, thug, just taking, strong-arming. It's like Debo, you know what I mean? But the evil covenant, it's taking what's not yours. But Debos, what do? They rely on brute strength, right? Well, brute strength. Brute strength doesn't, where does brute strength get you? I'm being brought to, the mental traps, but it's brute strength. Brute strength can't get you out of mental traps. Doesn't matter how strong you are. If you have no mental strength, you're not going to make it through. A lot of the storms, people can pass through the physical storms, okay. Can you pass through the mental, the emotional, the spiritual? What about those storms? Life is full of many storms. You can pass through one storm, great, attaboy, good for you. You're doing a great job, good. But are you prepared for more? Are you prepared for storm after storm after storm after storm after storm after storm? You don't even have time to clean up. You don't even have time to repair anything. But time to prepare. It's already done. The time to repair, it's already done. It's already done for me. Meaning like, if I don't, but it's already done. But it's already done. People laying the path in front of us. But it's kind of like we all have different jobs, right? Some people are really good with gathering supplies. Some people, some people are blueprinters, right? Some people know what supplies are needed, right? Okay, not everyone has the vision to be able to see what we need. But then again, not everyone has the skills and ability to go out and acquire everything. And then again, not everyone has the knowledge to take everything acquired and the vision and put it all together. It's the crucial parts that we all play. It's, the thug, the Debo, it's strong-arming. Okay, you can take someone else's position temporarily. When I say that, it's you can't even take it. You know what I mean? You can't take what's not yours, right? And so, in some sense, it might appear like they took it, but they can't maintain it. They won't be able to maintain it. Let's look at people like Jake Paul. It doesn't matter how many lies, how much money you spread at the lie. You tried to spin it off as a real fight. It was not. It was a staged fight. And that's blatantly obvious with the suing. You can't sue someone for not following the script if it was real life. You know what I mean? But then in revealing your own card, with revealing your own truth, which it was a lie, it was staged, he found himself in a shitstorm. Now he's going through litigation because of the people that were sponsoring him weren't privy. Well, you know what? Some of them weren't aware that it's a lie. But then again, some of them were well aware it was a lie. And they bet and banked on people playing their part, people following the script. By following the script. The lies, it takes the orchestration. It takes everyone in unison with the lie for the lie to hold. But then all of a sudden someone chooses not to follow the script. They said, yeah, I read that, and I see that, and I see you for who you are. It's just a wannabe. It's, you want to build this persona off of falsehoods, off of lies. And you think that you can, pay enough people to fall and make it seem like you can pack a punch. You can't buy your way out of it. Maybe temporarily, maybe for a while. It worked for You know, it worked for the first fight, you know, that first big one, that you were able to, you know, trick people. But then, no, some people care more about their morals. They care more about their image than they do about money. And that's blatantly obvious with that last fight. That's blatantly obvious with that broken fucking jaw. That's blatantly obvious. It's kind of a sense of humor, too. It's, you know, every lie that he speaks, it causes him pain. Every lie that comes out of his mouth now, it causes him pain. That's sad, but it's the consequences of his own actions. You know, deceitful. He's a deceitful motherfucker. He is. You know, so aren't people like, you know, Mr. Beast, the number one, you know, streamer, right? You know, it's, you know, you look at behind the scenes, the way that people talk about him. And he doesn't actually care. You know, the persona that he puts on is, oh, I'm a kind, loving person, and, you know, I'm doing all these good things. But then you turn and you look at it, it's like, well, it's all going back to people that you're connected with. And so, are you really out there doing a good thing? It's publicity stunts, and it's hidden agendas, hidden agendas. You know, everyone has a hidden agenda. You know, but not all of them are devious. You know, I guess kind of I guess somewhat my hidden agenda is to always is kind of always, it's the spark of change. The spark of change in the way that people perceive things, the way that people look at things. Because if I can at least trigger you enough into doing research to try to prove me wrong, maybe you're going to prove me right. Well, not maybe. I know that if you actually dive into the things that I speak about and try the things that I speak about, if you actually do them as I instruct to, then there's no way you can't see it as the truth, because it is the truth. It's not false. And I know that. I don't believe it. I know that. I know it to be true. That's why I speak with a certain level of confidence, because I don't believe it. I know it. And there's a huge fucking difference between believing and knowing. You only believe in what you do not know. You know, but when you stand on knowings, you know, but it's internal truths, it's internal knowings, but it's, why is it so secret? You know, there used to be universal things. You know, it used to be universal knowledge. Well, it still is universal knowledge, but in this realm, it seems to have disappeared. You know, it's gone underground. You know, but top secret. You know, but it's, mum is the word, but, you know, what is it too? It's, you know, the only way 3 people can keep a secret is if 2 of them aren't here, right? You know, but it's, but it's the ways that, you know, certain, well, it's funny too. It's, you know, certain artifacts and this and that. You know, anything that goes against the mainstream media. Then you get the Vatican, you get the, brain fart. You get the Smithsonian. You know, anything archaeological finds that go against the mainstream media's propaganda, you know, the Rockefeller Foundation, you know, indoctrinated, you know, school system. Anything that goes against, you know, whatever they indoctrinate us with, you know, they take the artifacts so that they can, you know, properly, you know, delicately preserve them. And it's, my God, the people that are in charge of preserving artifacts, horrible, worst at their job ever. We're horrible, fired. This should all be fired. You're the worst. If anyone I don't care what your position is, if you're that bad at your job, how the fuck do you still have it? And these people are in there for decades, and you look at their stats. Man, the amount of artifacts that we lose or misplace, it's interesting too. It's coincidental, you know, all the giant bones and all the other stuff that predict aliens, all the other, you know, Bible stories that contradict the mainstream, you know, theory. It's all protected. Yeah, they like to use that word, protect. They'd love to use that word, protect. You know, they're going to need some protection when the truth is revealed. They're going to need some protection. They're going to need some protection. The people that knowingly, cover up the truth. The people that knowingly, they what are they? You want to justify your actions? Is all you did was hold humanity back, motherfucker. But guess what? You're only preventing the inevitable. You think that hiding and damaging and getting rid of artifacts can stop a consciousness from returning? Joke's on you, motherfuckers. You can't stop a consciousness from returning. Because, hey, here we are, bitch. We're back. You thought you got rid of us because you destroyed some stones and because you altered some facts and because you changed this. Oh, no, humanity's lost and they're never going to find the truth. You can't remove what's hidden internally. You can by choosing to. It's the choices that we make. You can never, we think that we learn things. No. We have to be spoon-fed the propaganda and indoctrination because inherently by nature we know the truth. But that's why it all starts from early on. Is it coincidental that the school system and the prison system are run like the same way? It's no coincidence, none. And the only difference is the chains are somewhat visible there. But when you're not in school and when you're not in prison, you think that you don't have any chains on you. You think that you're actually free. Well, joke's on you, you're not. I am. I've removed all the chains. But a lot of the chains are only there because we allow them to be. And why do we allow them to be? Well, because we don't know any better. Because we don't know any better. Because we willingly welcome them in. Because we willingly put the chains on us. We willingly did it. We willingly continue to. And how do we do that? We willingly continue to have the chains remain on us by refusing to see the truth. By ignoring the truth. A lot of the truths, what's the truth? The truth disrupts us internally. Because it goes against, all the huge massive lies. But we don't trust our internal knowings, our internal compass. We don't trust that. And why? We hear all the lies, and it sits with us wrong, and it disrupts us internally. Energetically, we know it to be false, but we don't have the knowledge to know where the falsehood is. But we know enough. If we know enough energetically that it's not right, then that tells you enough. Energetically, it's not right. Now, the what takes the investigation. But the first step is not ignoring that something ain't right here. Because a lot of times we ignore all the clues that something isn't right. And we just suppress it and ignore it. Interesting too. Suppressing and ignoring. Attracting miracles. A lot of times that we're stuck. A lot of times we're stuck and we don't know how to get unstuck. And so we ask the Most High, we ask the Most High for whatever. But then it comes... the message comes from a person, a place. The message comes in a way that we weren't expecting. And maybe a way that we're not prepared to hear. Maybe in a way that we don't like to hear it. But it doesn't change the message. A lot of times we block the message because of the messenger. Because it wasn't glittery enough. It wasn't fancy enough. It wasn't this. It wasn't that. Whatever it was, we blocked the message. And by blocking the message, we're blocking our blessing. Well, a lot of times the blessings, a lot of times we think blessings, we think just monetary and physical. What if a blessing is a change of a mindset that breaks a chain that's been holding you back for who knows how many incarnations? But no, we're stuck with the mindset that blessings have to come this way. Blessings have to look this way. Blessings don't have to do shit. Blessings don't have to come to you. But also is the blessings that come to us, but we're not able to see them as such. Because we're blinded. But blinded. Blinded by what? Blinded by thinking that we know better. Blinded to thinking that we know what's best. That we know what's better for us than what God thinks is better for us. Because, hey, I know God's telling me to go there, but do you see that path? That doesn't look like a very fun path. That doesn't look like a very easy path. That one looks really easy. I think that one's calling my name. It's like, you're supposed to be going that way. It's like, yeah, but this one, I like this one a lot better. We all have choices. We all have decisions. But, the funny part is, even aware of that, accountability. I didn't choose to be here. I didn't choose. exactly wherever we are, whatever we're going through, it's because we asked for it. With our choices, our actions, or lack of. It's all because of us. You know, if we find ourselves in a situation to give thanks for it, then we did a great job. You know, if we find ourselves to not be so thankful, we did a great job of not learning the lesson too. You know, but learning the lessons, you know, but the hidden agendas, but the lessons, you know, it's the surface level. It's the surface level lesson, and then there's the deeper lesson. There's always two. There's always multiple levels. There's always, you know, but it's only revealed to us how. It's only revealed at what level we're ready to see. You know, we're not gonna, you know, be up here on the pedestal that we put ourselves onto and be observing something in the basement when it's like, I didn't even know there was, you know, 2 floors, much less 15 floors down. It's a slow excavation. It's more inward. It's the more that we dive inward. It's the more that's revealed. But it's interesting too, but it's the more that's revealed, it's the more that it's like, damn, that's been buried for how long? That's been hidden for how long? I've been lying to myself for how long? It's, you know, but it's no looking back. It's it's giving thanks for, hey, at least I know better now. Hey, at least I'm able to see it now. It's like, damn, it would have been nice if I could have seen this a couple decades ago. It really would have been nice, but hey, at least it's not, you know, a couple decades from now. At least I'm realizing this now. At least I'm learning this now. At least my eyes are open now. At least my ears are open now. It's the now, the here, the now, the present. That is a gift. You know, are we able to observe the gifts that are around us right now? No, because a lot of times we're not aware of the gifts that are around us. A lot of the gifts, the blessings, they come in ways that, well, that can't be a blessing. There's no way that, well, a lot of the blessings look that way because it's a lesson that we need to learn, that we've been trying to learn for a long time. And, you know, the Most High doesn't want our world crashing down. The Most High wants to delicately help us to learn things, but it's our stubbornness, it's our refusal that makes it so the Most High just fucking slaps us and sits us on our ass. It's because of our choices, our decisions. But no, then we want to sit on the ground, you know, because of the direct consequences of our actions, of our choices. Be like, why did God allow this to happen? But it's accountability. It's us, me. People are all selfish in the wrong ways. You know, it's me when it comes to taking, you know, but how about we take some responsibility? How about we take some accountability? How about we take that? You know, because people don't want to do that. People don't like that. People don't like that. Well, we all have choices. Oh. Was that really off for that long?
Cause you all can't be me.
I arrived to blue skies and green rivers. Travel the globe, amazed how every scene differs. My scenes on K2, I dream bigger. To Mother Earth, I bow like when a queen enters. Life's so beautiful, it's musical, I sing along. But its inhabitants so quickly say I'm singing wrong. Well, let's rehearse. I'll sing the hook, you take the verse. Let's build a bridge, if you ain't feeling it, then let's reverse. We'll make it work over time with open mind. Hope is but wanna help secure fortress. Pass torches, be boisterous about more than fast portions. And stay in church stone porches, taking self-portrait after self-portrait. Treat it like horseshit. Got all the beauty in this world and you ignore it, but you don't see the trees or the forest. You forfeit. We came from beyond the sun. 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 I arrived at the third rock from the star that you call the sun, and was greeted by the son of man standing with the gun in hand. I come in peace, but I cracked up and laughed so hard I almost fell to pieces. You seem to have a thesis that you've been onward and upward and evolving, just as sure as your axis is revolving, as evidenced by your new technology. I think you owe your ancestors an apology. You've come so far, only to forget so much more than you know now. And I know how. You've been hitting reset on your history, dividing and conquering yourself in the mystery.
Hitting reset on your history. Hitting reset on your history. You know, it's the different plateaus that we find ourselves. You know, the spiritual journey never ends, right? You know, it's new levels, new devils, right? You know, at each level we go at, you know, we have a higher perspective of the levels that we just completed, right? But there's always more. You know, sometimes we lose sight of all the levels we've already completed, you know, but then again, we never know how many more there are to go. But there's always more. There's always more. There's always more. There's always more. You know, sometimes, you know, waving the white flag. You know, sometimes we wave the white flag. Sometimes we kind of plateau. We kind of stay at the plateaus that we're at. You know, even though we know there's higher, sometimes it's just we're... You know, but the customer service rep, but it's the healing after battle. You know, each level, you know, it's new levels, new devils. It's new battles, each one. You know, some of the battles are going to be more mental. Some of the battles are going to be more physical. You know, some of them are going to be all, you know, but it's... It's the way that we stop giving up. You know, we stop... You know, it's not quitting. It's not giving up. It's learning appropriate times to take the break, right? It's just timing the breaks. It's timing the breaks with what? With the gunfire, with the bombing. It's taking a break when you can, right? A lot of times we're go. But a lot of times we feel like if we're not going, there's no movement. But movement, it's an energetic thing. It's not a visible. It's not a physically visible thing. It's people will physically look, and you know, it's someone that's in alignment from an outside perspective is going to look like you're sitting back, kicking your feet up. You know, you never work. You know, you sit there collecting money for free, right? Well, other people get up and go to work religiously daily, every single day. But yet, the person that goes to work every single day, they're just making enough to, you know, to pay their bills. But then, you know, the person that's staying in alignment, it's, you know, maybe they're just doodling all day. But hey, it's that one doodle, you know, it's the amount of money they could get from selling that. It's worth more than, you know, months worth of putting in the hard work, you know, but it's the difference of alignment. But it's also the value, the things that we put value into. Selling yourself short. It's no longer selling ourselves short. You know, it's knowing the value of what we have. It's the time and energy and effort that we put into things. Not everyone sees all the time and effort that we put into things. Well, one, they're not able to, because they would have to be on our back the whole time to see it. And even then, they're still going to miss shit. Because, you know what I mean? Because maybe we don't stop working. You know, and keeping up with watching us is really, you know, it's a lot of work. It's tiring because we never sleep. You know, but it's interesting too. But pulling off, it's when you're pulling off of other people's energy, you know, you're going to get tired. You're going to be drained, you know. But when you pull off, when you learn to fill your own cup, when you learn to pull off of your own energy, you know, it doesn't end. Things don't end until you allow them to end. I have enough strength and perseverance and determination to go until I choose not to. You know, but choosing not to. You know, it's finish lines, you know, but it's okay. You know, just because we crashed, just because we crossed, you know, an imaginary finish line, and everyone else stopped running, and everyone else is celebrating, hey, we did it, hey, yay, celebration. I haven't picked my head up. I'm still running. You know, what if there's more races? What if there's another finish line that no one could see behind that one? What if? Not what if, there are. I know there are, because I found them. And that's why I don't stop, because I know there's more. And I hope you don't as well. That's for somebody.
So raise a glass to the broken bowl. Write a story like it's carved in stone. Love, hate me, I still run these blinds. If you don't like me, well, you can kick rocks.
Actually, I'm going to wrap that up right there. But thanks for tapping in. Thanks for all your likes, your shares, your comments. Thank you for the exchange of energy. And until next time.